Hello and welcome to this design and technology lesson. This lesson excuse me, is about 2-point perspective drawing, and in this lesson we're drawing a halving joint, which is a wood joint. So if we take a close look at this just to see what we're actually drawing, is there are two pieces of wood. So when we create a wood joint, we have two pieces of wood here, which it's called a halving joint because each one is marked in half in the middle, and we cut those away and glue together. So there's our halving joint, and we're going to start drawing this now. So the first thing we're going to do is, just like we did with the other drawing, I'm going to use this 3H pencil. I hope it shows up on the camera, and we're going to create a horizon line, and obviously that needs to be horizontal, and then we're going to mark on it to VP, which, if you remember, are vanishing points. In fact, I'll just go over those so you can see them more clearly. So there's our two vanishing points, and then we need to put in our center line here. So now we've got our horizon and we've got our center line. So we're going to measure this, and this is 6 centimeters or 60 millimeters, and that is the same. So if we come down from here a little bit and make a mark, and then we can mark on 60, and then if you remember what we did from last time, each of the points, so we've got 2 points here, if you can see that point there and that point there on our vertical line, and these are going up to, if you remember, I showed you, if you put the ruler onto one point and then bring the ruler around to the next point, that's a great technique for lining up 2 points. Okay, and we've got there and there. Okay, so that now we've created this part here. Now obviously with our halving joint we need to make a mark in the half here where our joint's going to be. So if you remember, that was 6, so if we come from here, from the bottom here, and mark our point 3, and then we need to add that line on as well to a vanishing point. Next we're going to mark on length. Now there are some issues with this, because if you're actually drawing something accurately, this view here is what they call foreshortened. It's not the exact length, but that's not an issue here because we're just marking off some lengths. Then we've got our thickness here, which is about 15 millimeters, so we mark that on there and we mark that point on here. You can see that the whole view, your distance from and even above and below, it is possible to draw the horizon at different points, which change the viewpoint that you'll end up with your final view of your drawing. So now here we've got this point here, now goes across to this. Now you might at this point start not actually putting in the whole line, because it does start to get kind of messy, as you can see here. Then obviously I've got a line coming down here and a line coming down here. Okay, I'm just going to go back to this drawing now just so you can see. So we've just put in that line there, that line there, we put in these lines, we've put in these and these, and of course we've come across here to this one and across to that one, just to keep you up to speed. This is getting a little bit more complex here. Now obviously with our halving joint we can see that we need to remove some of it, and I can see I don't need that bit there, and I don't need that bit there. I also don't need that bit up there. And I'm just going to take a now to actually clean up some of these lines that we don't need. I'm now going to go over it with the fine liner. And as I say, I think the most challenging bit on this is getting this halving joint right, and this kind of links almost to also if you were making the joint, because this is how you would mark out the pieces of wood to actually cut the halving joint. Now that line, let me get in the right place, excuse me. Oh, with these videos, if you feel you know what's happening there, you can always speed through them to the end, or at least step through them. And there is our, we just obviously need to add this corner in here, and because this is a wood joint, what I've done here is I've kind of added a bit of end grain detail there and there, and then I've added a few kind of just details there. I clean it up with a pencil. If you just look on a piece of wood here, you kind of see those details. So there's a grain there on there, and obviously some kind of grain there, just to look at a piece of wood. But then we can just take some coloured pencils, and if you take a couple of coloured pencils, maybe a couple of different shades, and what's quite nice here is I've just picked these two halves out in two different shades and tones to show that piece of wood and that piece of wood that have been cut. So there's a 2-point perspective drawing of a 2-point perspective drawing of a halving joint, drawn